Get attitude means, how can I proactively change the way I think? How can I proactively increase my life? How can I proactively create better relationships and better work situations for me to enjoy it?
And welcome to the GAP, the Get Attitude Podcast, The Gap, bridging the gap from who you are to who you want to become and bridging the gap from where you are to where you want to end up. Hello, my name is Glenn Bill, founder of the University of Attitude, keynote speaker, and author of the best-selling book, The ABCs of Attitude. I've been fortunate enough to help tens of thousands of people get attitude. And this podcast, well, it's going to help you get yours. Attitude, it's the secret formula to success in your life and in your business. And this podcast is here today to help you get some. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get some. I want to welcome everybody. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. We still and always appreciate you sharing our podcast, and we want to thank you for your continued following of what we're doing. We want to welcome everybody, and today we are focusing on Attitude Booster number 9, which is Eat Right and Exercise. We are on our third interview for this month, and we are with some people that you are going to want to listen to. These guys train people who are all pro football players in the NFL, all the way down to people who are in their high 70s that need flexibility, they need strength, whatever it is. As you guys know, if you are somebody that struggles with simply eating right, with simply exercising, I have brought in 2 of Central Indiana's leading sports performance individuals, and they are going to help us bridge the gap. They are from Genesis Sports Performance.
Coming here has really helped me a lot. Before I started coming here, I had no idea what I was doing in a weight room.
I'll go on visits, exactly what the college coaches are telling me there. The strength coaches, exactly what Graham is doing here, Graham and Dale. It's preparing me for the next level, for sure.
All right, Graham and Dale, welcome. Man, we are so excited to have you here. I know that there are people that are sitting in their car, they're walking on the beach, they're looking at their jelly roll going, how can I figure out how to eat right and exercise? So we got 2 stars, Jason, instead of 1, which is great. So we'll just alternate. Dale, talk to the person that's looking at themselves, who's maybe our age, right? A little bit over 50, going, damn, high school's gone, college is gone. It's been 30 years since I've done anything. What do you tell guys like that when they sit there and go, I need to make a change?
It's baby steps. The first thing you got to do is show up. And, oddly enough, University of Attitude, it's all about attitude. And if you're negative about it, or you're like, I got to get in shape before I come see you guys, you've already lost. So you got to get your foot in the door. You've got to show up every day. And you just take baby steps from there. And you train smart, and you do things the right way, and you set small goals, and you reach those goals, and you keep going beyond.
And some of the things that you do, Dale, that are really cool, and I've seen this, and guys, if you want to check out what these guys are doing, go to genesisperformance.com. They don't only just work with professional athletes. They are doing the run-of-the-mill male and female athlete or wannabe athlete. And I think you're right. So many people are like afraid of you guys because they think you're going to absolutely kill them when you get into it. So just showing up a little bit at a time and knowing that you don't have to be in perfect shape just to start, right?
Right. We want to help you get there. So it doesn't matter how out of shape you feel that you are, or if you have some type of an ailment or something like that. That's what we're here for, is to craft a program that works specifically for those individuals. Whether you had a knee replacement or you fight diabetes, whatever it might be, you got 80 pounds to lose, we'll figure out the right program for you and do it in a smart way to help get you there.
And Graham, talk to us a little bit about maybe the younger generation, right? We have a lot of parents who have kids who they think are All-Americans, which I'm sure we all deal with all the time. But if your kid is an All-American, these guys will help them become there quicker or to really be one. What's the message to parents who want their kids to get in some structured program, especially with guys like you? But what's also the message to the existing athlete, that college athlete or that athlete that's just out of college that you guys stress on?
I think we're big stressors of trying to build the foundation of the pyramid. So when you look at like sports performance training or sports specific training, the sports specific piece should be at the very top, the skills training. Everything is founded upon this general physical preparation at the bottom of the pyramid. So that's where we can do a great job helping athletes out. I think there's too much focus predicated on strictly skills training. So nonstop hitting lessons or throwing lessons, and then kids get burnt out and kids get injured. So we have to get them in and provide like a wide movement base for them, ensure that they're performing the fundamental movement patterns correctly, and then we can build the pyramid off that.
Right. And so when you look at Dale, we'll just kind of stick with the older folks with you and the younger. And again, you guys are highly trained and can do either one. But when you look at the biggest needs of people 50 and over, what do you think the biggest needs of that type of individual are?
Well, usually it's orthopedic. They've got some type of joint issue. They're fighting arthritis, or they've had a joint replacement, as I have. Just getting them comfortable and realizing that they can still do things and do things in an effective manner to reach the goals that they have. Mm-hmm. You hit the nail on the head earlier when you said people are worried that we're going to bring them into our place and beat the crap out of them. And that's the last thing we want to do. We want to get you moving better, feeling better. So when you get out of bed the next day, you're not that creaky old tin man. You're feeling better and like, hey, I feel like I'm 10 years younger than I was 3-4 months ago. Mm-hmm. But you definitely have to have the mind, the attitude that, hey, I'm going to get in, I'm going to stick to my guns, I'm going to do what they ask me to do, I'm going to set some goals, and we're going to keep reaching these goals and setting new goals. So,
and what I think you guys do that's so important, it's different. You can go join LA Fitness or Live Right or these gyms and get your trainer for $35 and you're coming in and coming out. You guys have a very specific, tailored, hands-on approach to the people that walk through those doors. So, Graham, tell us a little bit about why you're different than just going to a gym and paying a guy $60 an hour to do stuff.
So every person that walks in the door is going to get assessed because everybody has different movement deficiencies, asymmetries, limitations. So we're immediately going to start with an assessment, and from there we're going to find out what we need to correct. So that's one way in which we're different. The other way, our adult fitness program, you can look at some of the other competitors out there. It's a lot of like high intensity jumping and running. And, when you really dig into the research, you can find out like, how many ground contacts should a person have per workout, right? And that's stuff that we're monitoring. We know those numbers and we want to monitor that throughout the week. Whereas I don't know that other fitness programs are even thinking about taking that into account. So I always like to say you want to it's like a brisket. You want to slow cook it. Make sure,
language.
make sure that you're monitoring load volume and performing the correct exercises that fits that person's movement pattern.
What now? Do you guys do a lot when it comes to eating right is part of this podcast? Do you do a nutritional breakdown for people? And if you do, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Shelby, actually my wife, she does all of the nutrition. So we are partnered with a company called Healthy Steps Nutrition.
Right.
They have a registered dietitian that makes the meal plans, and then Shelby performs all the coaching. So people that sign up for coaching with her will meet with her to get an assessment on what they need to do. And then she will meet with them monthly or twice a month, and then they also get checked in on through this app, this Genesis Nutrition app that we have. They get tailor-made nutrition plans custom to them.
So you have Genesis Sports Performance and Genesis Nutrition app. You have an app for nutrition?
We do, yeah.
Nice. Very well. Very good. And then, Dale, when you look at folks on the nutrition side of things, on the eating right things, what do you see the biggest mistakes or misconceptions are that people are making that you talk to?
I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you can put a nutrition program together. And just, you've heard of some of these things, the Whole30, the keto diet, all these different things. Really what you're looking for is a number of these things can work, but it's just sticking to the plan. Shelby puts together great plans based on the individual's needs, but it really comes down to sticking to it and not sabotaging yourself. If there's something in your diet that's sabotaging you and killing everything, if you're serious about it, you're going to get rid of it. Whether that's drinking heavy IPAs or whatever, you got to figure out what's important. And hey, is this affecting my health in an adverse way? And if it is, well, then you need to eliminate that. I see so many people are like, yeah, I can't give that up, and it's like, well, then you're not serious about what you're telling me. Your goals really aren't your goals. And now, is it just a few pounds you got to lose? Maybe your goals aren't that serious. But hey, if you're having your health adversely affected because of your lifestyle, and you're not serious about changing it, you're going to lose. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, and I know it sounds cliche because we're on an attitude show here, but it really is. It's all about mindset and about your attitude and about how serious you are about your goals. I tell people because they're like, it doesn't fit in, I can't cook, it doesn't fit into my schedule. We're talking about your health.
Right.
You're going to take time out of your work day to go to the doctor, correct? Well, don't go to the doctor. Get your plan right and eat, exercise correctly, and be around for your family because that's what's important. And you just got to get people to look at themselves in an important manner of how serious this is. You're over 50 years. If you're over 50 years old, it's pretty darn serious.
It's serious and it's immediate, and the urgency is there. Graham, when you work with young athletes or old, and they come to you and you can tell, I don't know that this guy's bought in, right? And I think everybody has that. You're like, dude, you're a freaking joker. I mean, really. What do you try to do to get people to be on board, to be about at 100%, to make that mental shift? What's your approach? What are your questions? And I guess, talk to that person that knows they need to eat right and exercise, right? But you just know they're not going to do it. They show up and they're half-assed with it. I mean, what's your approach or your take on how to help people with that?
Yeah, I think we try to address that right away off the first meeting. So one of the questions we ask is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how serious are you about achieving these goals? So we sit down with them and we want to make sure we know exactly what the goals are. And, if I hear 7, I'm like, okay, well, what are the 3 points keeping you from a 10? And then I can kind of get down to what's going on and what in there. We always kind of look at the history too. Have you worked out before? Has it worked? Yada, yada. And then we know, hey, these 3 things are going to stand in our way, so let's attack them right off the bat and see if we can help with the exercise and nutrition adherence piece. It's not just about, programming and writing workouts. Like, we got to be master motivators as well.
Right, and so when they say I'm a 7 and you say, all right, what are the 3 things standing in your way? What is that answer? And then what's the next step? How do you move them from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. So
what's the one you hear most?
Busy.
Schedule.
Work. Yeah.
Schedule.
I'm too busy. So I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, yeah, these guys are great, but I'm just too freaking busy to eat right and exercise. What's the comeback to that? And you maybe already hit on it, Dale, I know, but what else do you do? And Graham, if you want to chime in either way.
I mean, for me, this is the most serious thing, the most proactive thing that you can do to make your life better than what it is.
Love it.
Both physically and mentally. Because if you're physically on point, and you're eating better, and you're taking time for yourself to work out, mentally, you're going to be much better.
Right.
And it's as serious as making a doctor's appointment. So if you're serious about it, you're going to find the time and make the time. You'll make the time to sit down and watch Dr. Phil. You'll sit down and make the time to do this or that. it's an hour, 3 times a week. It's find 3 hours, and you can do it in that amount of time. So if you're serious about it, you got to walk the walk and not just talk the talk.
So I think that's a very attainable goal, 3 hours a week. Even if you don't go to Genesis Sports Performance, and we've talked about this, spend 3 hours walking, right? Or spend 6 times 30 minutes just walking, and you're going to be on your way. Then you need to walk into Central Indiana's dominant team of Genesis Sports Performance. Graham, not only is it, I just don't have the time, what's another excuse, and how do you attack that?
I think you see a lot of people trying to overcomplicate things. Oh, well, I've tried this diet and it didn't work. I'm doing Weight Watchers, or I tried this fitness program, and it's like when it comes down to it, when it really, really comes down to it, it's if your goal is, let's just say, weight loss. It's calories in versus calories out. It really is. So if you're telling me you did intermittent fasting and keto for a month and didn't lose any weight, well, you had more calories than you expended. There's just you don't.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah, you don't defy the laws of.
Right. There's not many outliers.
Right.
In this deal,
right. So just letting people know, hey, look, we just got to get this caloric. We got to get you in this caloric deficit, and then even like you said, get you walking, and you will see huge benefits just from that. I think Shelby had a fitness client that was struggling for years to lose weight. She got her just walking and got her on the meal plan. She lost 15 pounds.
Right.
So you just follow the meal plan and walk just to start off, and you'll see some great results.
So when we talk about eating right, you literally can have limited exercise, and just by providing the proper nutrition and eating plan, shed the weight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. So for all the people that are out there listening that are lazy as hell, just go get a nice nutrition plan, and that may help. Now, both of you guys are athletes, and I know Dale played some semi or pro ball over in Europe, and Graham played at DePaul University. Let's just shift real quick. Eating and exercise is always good, but what's your personal philosophy on attitude? Who was your attitude coach? When you think about, again, I know we've touched on a little bit, talking to that person that is just unmotivated to do something. I'd just like to know a little bit about you guys personally, where you came from, and how you got to make this mission your mission, and why it's like that.
Glenn Bill's my attitude coach.
Listen to him. I've known him for a while.
We have known each other since we were kids.
Yes.
As far as did I have one mentor, that shaped my attitude? I would say I had several. And that dates all the way back to playing football at CYO, playing Little League Baseball at Haverford. I have men that were in my life that I took a little something from them. Oddly enough, the coach that I look up to now, and I look back on and have the most admiration for, is the coach that I could not stand when I was younger.
Interesting.
And he didn't like me very much. I was an immature kid, and I learned some tough lessons. I would say that really...
Well, who was it? We may as well give him credit.
It was Coach Birch.
Coach Birch.
Joe Birch.
From
Haverford, Little League, and he also coached me in basketball.
I was just at communion with him this morning at 8:30.
Were you?
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, his granddaughter works for us.
He seemed like such a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, he was.
Now he is.
He was a nice guy when I wasn't pulling something stupid.
No kidding. Yeah. I love that.
I've told him those words too.
Sure.
Because I think anyway. Here's a funny story. He told me, Dale Speckman, you'll never play high school basketball. And I was like the stud on the 7th and 8th grade team. I never played high school basketball.
There you go. He knew something.
I played freshman year, got cut my sophomore year.
Hilarious.
The guy knew what he was talking about. And, he tried to help me early on, and I figured it out. And a lot because of some of his tough love. And we all know what a great man he is, and what he has been and what he means to many, many kids. But his granddaughter works for us now. She's a chiropractor, and she also does some of our training. But anyway, I've just taken all these bits and pieces from my past experiences and past coaches, and I put them in play in a much different way than I did when I was younger. And one thing I wanted to hit on with when you were asking, how do we handle certain people that we just don't think they're gonna make the cut? They're not gonna come in and take it serious, especially with our athletes. Man, we talk to these kids a lot. We talk to each other a lot about certain individuals, like, hey, they're not pushing through. They've got too many little dings and scratches. They don't understand the difference of being injured and hurt. And we take a lot of stock in these kids. We treat them like they're our own kids because we want the best for them. Going forward. And it's not just about that we want accolades in their sports endeavors. We want them to grow up and be good men and women that are going to contribute to our community, and it's important to us. So, I think that's something. There's a lot of things I didn't take seriously as a real young athlete, and then I matured as I got up into college and things like that. Those things I just, I use every day. I don't give my pain and suffering a voice anymore when I'm working out. Things are tough for me. I've got a knee replacement. That's a good one,
right?
Yeah, and it's something that works. You just, we've got clients who are like, oh, this hurts, and it doesn't hurt in a bad way. It hurts in a good way,
right? And
they don't want to push through. So I think for me, I try not to give that pain and suffering a voice. And although I'll bitch to him a lot about it, it's like,
right.
Oh man, my knee, my hip, dude, I'm old.
Well, that's so good. I mean, because there's no growth with no pain,
right.
no gain,
yeah.
And feeling sore is kind of part of it. I want to just go down the rabbit hole real quick with Coach Birch because obviously he stuck out. Do you remember the one thing besides him saying you're not going to be a high school basketball player? Was there a lesson or was there something he ever said to you that you went, wow, that's smart, that's really good? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, and I really don't. I had a run-in with him in 8th grade that I still feel badly about, and that's when he's like, Speckman, you'll never make it in high school.
There you go.
And because I ticked him off,
right.
and rightfully so. I'm lucky he didn't throw me out of practice, and but it was years down the road that it dawned on me. Every time I would see him at Christ King Festival, because I wouldn't see him but once a year. Every time I saw him, I had this admiration for him, and I couldn't figure it out because we never were that close. And then it hit me once I started coaching. I was like, I know I love this guy so much because he was hard on me in all the right ways. Mm-hmm. And every kid's different, to find those buttons that make them click. And I don't know if he had my buttons, figured out back then, but man, I have all the love and admiration for that guy, and I know that I've changed who I was over a period of time because of his voice in the back of my head.
Yeah, I think the lesson there is tough love is true love oftentimes, and the reason it's so tough is because it's so true, and it's coming from an outside source. So we'll mark the tape on that one for our micro content, huh, George? Jason, listen to me.
Should just call me George.
Well, I was calling you Jason Jordan, who did the book, not Jason Jolliffe, who does my podcast. All right, so I love that. Tough love is true love, and that's so true. Graham, tell us a little bit about your attitude, where you came from, some of your attitude coaches. You had a really nice college career, of course. So what does attitude mean to you? What does attitude meant to you as a teammate or as a leader on a team? And what does attitude mean now running this thing called Genesis Sports Performance?
Similar to Dale, my attitude was definitely developed through sports. You were my head D-line coach, my position coach, and we had a great relationship, and I learned a lot through, the way you coached me, and you guys were tough on us, right? Like playing at Chittard, playing at DePaul, and I think one of the things, it was always just like you have to perform or you're losing your spot, right? Mm-hmm. So like that pressure makes diamonds kind of thing.
Right.
Getting like a taste of that at an early age and being able to continue to hold on to that, like since I've matured and grown. When I was in college, the same thing. Like I just wanted to perform at the best that I possibly could, because that is like all I ever knew. That was all that was ever expected of me and my coaches. And I still am kind of like that today. And Dale and I talk a lot, like sometimes be a bit of a perfectionist about things, but it's just, I think it was instilled at that early age, and it has led us pretty far in our endeavors.
Yeah, that's cool. So And I think you guys would love to just get your thought on this, but when it gets down to competition, so important. And I know that you guys do a lot of group training, and my guess is you do group training to put the pressure and the competition on others. Just your quick thought. There's one thing about saying I'm going to eat right and exercise by myself, but is there a higher success rate if you got somebody doing it with you? And what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, a higher success rate if you have somebody helping you through those steps. It's too easy to tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. But when you have somebody, and there's a monetary thing there too. I mean, if you're laying out some money, that's going to help motivate you. You don't want to waste your money, but you got somebody there that's pushing you and saying, hey, we need to do this. We need to make sure you're here on Wednesday, and you've got somebody else to answer to other than yourself. There's definitely a higher success rate there. But I would say the biggest thing is people really just most people don't know what to do when they get into the gym. They're certainly not going to assess themselves and, realize that they have a hip problem that's just waiting to rear its ugly head. So, with us and the assessment and coming up with the program that's right for that specific individual, those are all things that are really important and things that you should, look at and think about before you just think you're going to go out to LA Fitness and start your own program.
Yeah, and that's so cool and so true. And the really cool thing about you guys is you actually can still coach. You can still perform your assessments to anybody in the world. We have a worldwide audience. If you guys like Graham and Dale, all you got to do is go to Genesis Sports Performance, sign up for an assessment. You know what? They can coach you virtually. So, it's not the same, but you may go, hey, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll just talk with these guys and make that happen. So that's fun, and I think that would be needed. If you need a coach, if you need help, if you are sitting there going, I just don't know about this eat right and exercise stuff, guys, go out and find a coach. It could be these guys or it could be somebody in your area. Your health is the most important thing. Why be rich and unhealthy, right? Why become the person you ever dreamed to be just to get sick and not be able to influence others? Eating right and exercising might be one of the biggest, most important attitude boosters that are on that card. These two guys gave us some great thoughts on how to share that. And now what we're going to do is come back with our quick hit, knowledge through the decades. So we'll start with Dale. We'll go back and forth. And we always like to know, what is the attitude lesson of childbirth? Now, if you remember being born, I want to know your attitude lesson. But if there's an attitude lesson about childbirth, Dale, what would you say it is?
Well, mine would definitely be my children being born, and I would say the attitude lesson there is responsibility. Everything changes on a dime, and how you have to look at life, and you and your wife are not the most important people anymore. It's those little critters you're bringing home.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say responsibility is the attitude.
And I think that's great, Dale. We haven't actually had that answer, but don't we all have the responsibility, at a minimum to ourselves, to simply eat right and exercise?
Absolutely, we do.
Absolutely. I mean, it's easier said than done, but when you talk about the term responsibility, even as an infant, I totally agree with you. But, are you responsible for your own life? Are you prepared to say and look in the mirror and say, all right, I'm going to be responsible? Darren Hardy, my good friend who owns Success.com, said he used to do the mirror test where he'd get completely naked, do his arms, jump up and down in front of the mirror, and that really tells you the kind of shape you're in. And so my challenge is to take the mirror test, the jiggle test, and say, do I need to improve this body? And am I responsible to myself? Because when I think about eating right and exercising, completely responsibility. You're just irresponsible if you don't do it. God's only given you one body. It's an incredible machine. And just to do those two things seems simple.
Yeah, I mean, if I could add just one thing to that, the responsibility you have to your family to remain healthy and remain around.
Amen.
For them to rely on you through the years. So, your kids need you, your nephews, your whole family just need you. And you do have the responsibility to stay on this earth and stay healthy and stay in their lives.
Awesome, man. That's good. All right, Graham, what about you when you think about childbirth?
I don't have any children of my own yet, but I watched my sister race. She's got a 4-year-old and now a 1-year-old. And I would say selflessness and sacrifice seems like the ultimate act of selflessness. when you have kids and your whole world kind of begins to revolve around them.
Yeah, cool. And again, to be selfless, and just like you said, take 30 seconds or 30 minutes out of your day to exercise, right? Unbelievable. All right, so now we're going to go to 10 years old. I think that's about when you guys were in 3rd or 4th grade. You probably remember being on the 34 football field. I'd love to know, who was in your life? And when you look back at being 10 years old, what do you think the lesson was that you learned, should have learned, or did learn?
Man, that's a tough one. I remember Mr. Duffy and us winning the city championship at age 9 or 10.
I like it.
That's where I learned to compete, was in that 10-year-old range. And that's a whole different attitude mindset.
Yeah.
You have to learn to toughen up. You have to learn to tuck your fears in your back pocket and pin your ears back and go get what you want.
Right.
And that starts at a really young age. And we see those kids come into our gym, these days that are like 10, 11, 12 years old. We start them at 10. And we teach that competitive, edge and trying to get a leg up on the competition. You've got to outwork them. And work ethic started way back then.
Yeah, that's cool. Work ethic and the ability to compete. And again, you train 10-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, 10-year-old kids back in our day, that didn't happen.
No.
But if you're a parent, and I think these guys will attest to it, I don't need to say it, be careful who you send your 10-year-olds to.
Absolutely.
Because their tissue's different, and you better have people that really understand what's going on. These guys at Genesis Sports Performance do. And so really, really good stuff, Dale. How about you, Graham? 10 years old, what was your attitude lesson when you were 10?
Oh, I'll take it back to 3rd grade. I remember there was a coach, Coach Fitzgerald. I was playing – it is still burned in my head. I was playing center, and I could not get this block back down on a guard. And he was shooting the gap, and I was missing it every single play. And I couldn't figure it out. And – I would say failure, like realizing that, hey, you can fail and there are repercussions that come with that, right? I was getting screamed at in 3rd grade.
Sure.
I'd say that really reminds me of like my first taste of failure.
Awesome.
And I had to work at it to get better at it, and
you did.
Better. Yeah.
So when we talk about eating right and exercising, we know that failure is a big, big part of that. Maybe you who are listening right now have failed and failed again and failed again and failed again. But the point is this, failure is just an event. Failure is not a person. You are not a failure. God doesn't make failures. And if you're listening to this, hopefully you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Hopefully these guys have given you some great advice on how to look at things, how to proceed, and most of all, make it fun. Eating right and exercising, believe it or not, can be a fun process. But it all depends on how you think about it and your attitude. All right, so now we're going to go to 20. Almost ready to drink, probably were drinking. Do you remember your 21st birthday? And what was the lesson you learned when you hit that beautiful age of 20 to 21?
Oh, boy, this is a tough one.
This is what a hangover feels like. Right? Yeah.
Well, there were a lot of those in the 20s for sure.
Yes.
And before. I think this was the time that I learned what it meant to be there for other people than just my family. I got into some things with friends where, they needed me, I needed them. I think just what it meant to be, more of an adult at that time. And I know I've already said responsible, but your responsibilities just go up every decade. And I think in my 20s was resiliency for me because there were some failures then and learning how to bounce back and just becoming a little more mentally tough. And I would say there were a lot of lessons for me in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah,
so
probably for everybody listening, but certainly resiliency. And I love the idea that, which is going to be attitude booster number 10, be a part of something bigger than you. I think that's what Dale was talking about. Going to be awesome next month when we do those. So my hope and my prayer for the gappers out there that are listening is that that attitude lesson never goes away, and I hope that you are there for others. And I hope that this podcast, the Good Attitude Podcast, is helping you become a more resilient person because we're teaching you from some great people how to bridge the gap from who you are to who you want to become. Graham, 20 years old. I'm sure you're right in the middle playing football, having fun. What was the lessons you learned walking around that campus?
Probably like humbleness. I got there and thought I was going to be like, all world, and didn't start right away. It took me a while to enjoy success. DePaul was hard. It took me, a couple semesters to really get in the groove of things, get good grades. So yeah, just realizing, you're not the same. You're not the man like you thought you were in high school, and
Right.
striving to be a better person. And yeah, I got a big dose of humbleness around
Cool.
that age.
Humility, always a good attitude to embrace and encounter. But just like some people may attribute it to failure as well, failure will give that to you. But to certainly stay humble and self-reflect and to say, how can I help others without putting the big badge on me is a way to go. So we're up to 30 in Knowledge Through the Decades. Dale, we're getting old, man.
No doubt.
I mean, that was 20-something years ago for us. Do you remember being 30? Do you remember a birthday party? Were you singing on stage? Were you married at 30? I think you might have been.
Yeah.
And so tell me your attitude lesson at 30 that you
Had my first child at 30, and that was a huge change. I think we already covered that with the childbirth thing, so where responsibility really, jumped up, and when I looked in the mirror, it wasn't me I was seeing, it was my kids. And but I also, I was 30 years old when I had to give up football, and that was really tough. And I had to have, my whole world was I identified myself through sports.
Sure.
And at 30, which I did start playing in an adult baseball league for the next 17 years after that. But I had to reinvent myself, man.
Right.
And that's when, work started becoming more of a factor for me, and becoming a father and more of a role model. My younger years, I'll admit it, I was not much of a role model. It took me a while to get that going. In my 30s, I think I started to get there.
Cool. And so, reinvention, huge attitude lesson. You may be listening to this going, oh my God, my time is up. Like, look, you can only play football for so long. That's what Dale was talking about when he was 30, going, holy crap, I'm going to not be able to play this game that I love. And no matter what it is in your life that you're facing, it may be a marriage, it may be a relationship, it may be a job, we are called to reinvent ourselves. Sometimes we're 30, sometimes we're 40, sometimes we're older. But if you are at a phase in your life where reinvention is imminent and it's in front of you, you need to know that everybody goes through it. And there are answers. All you need to do is keep listening to The Gap, follow what we're doing. We're going to get you through it. All right, Graham, you just turned 30. You just got married. Tell us what your attitude lesson was.
I'd say teamwork this year, definitely.
Nice.
I just got married, so I have a wife now. I realize how much of a better man I am with her. And then teaming up with Dale, I was a solo business owner for the past 5 years, and being with him, I realized how I can become a better coach and business owner, and we can learn from one another. So it's definitely been a year of teamwork for me.
Nice, very good. And so the lesson there, guys, is sometimes you can't do it alone. Zig Ziglar always said it's if you ever see a turtle on the top of a fence post, he sure didn't get there on his own. And so maybe our gappers that are out there need to look outside themselves. They need to look for relationships that can be leveraged, relationships that can be complemented, and relationships that can grow your world, grow your attitude, grow your success, grow your bank account. There is somebody in your life that could make an incredible difference to you, but sometimes we close our eyes and we just don't allow ourselves to either ask for help or be given help. And so, Graham, that's a great thought on how to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. Graham was a sole business owner, picked up a partner in Dale, and they're bridging the gap from where they are to grow together, and I think that's really good. I know for me personally, when I got partners, it helped me. So, Graham, you're not 40, so you're done. We're going to go 2 straight questions to Dale and get you guys out of here. Dale, you probably remember turning 40. And what was the attitude lesson when you got to 40?
It was a big party at 40.
Yeah.
Kip's Pub.
I think I
Remember
was
that.
there.
I think
Right.
you were. In my 40s is where I got humbled. I had a child that was going through some rough stuff and, realized, that, hey, some of this is probably my fault, and taking a long, hard look at my parenting and how I was going about it and how I was trying to help, him, and taking some licks and getting back up and realizing that, these issues didn't define me as a father. They didn't define my boy, and just fighting through some hard times. And, I really learned how to depend on my wife during that time, too.
Cool.
I always thought I could do everything on my own. And I realized that I had to tap into friends during this time, all kinds of things to resolve this issue and help get him on the right track. And he did a lot of great things on his own to do that, too. So, but I had to learn to rely on other people, and that's not something that I was good at before then.
Yeah, that's cool. And certainly we have gappers out there that love their kids immensely. Sometimes we can be what we think are the perfect parents, but you know what? Sometimes kids can stumble, and they need our help. And so if you're one of those people out there, I think what Dale just shared, that there are answers. And your kids are probably stronger and smarter than you ever give them credit for. And with the right leadership, they're going to be able to pull themselves out of it as well. So thanks for sharing that. Mm-hmm. That was good. So now, hey, man, you're halfway through your 50s.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
55?
Wow, 54.
Oh, almost double nickels. All right.
Yeah.
So when you turn 50, now's the time. You're here, you're in life. What's your outlook? And then, Graham, I'd love you to just chime in, too. What's the outlook for your business? But Dale, let's do you just personally. What's your outlook now that you're 50? And man, we've been through this for 35 years together. What's your thought on the attitude lesson?
Professionally, I'm happier than I've ever been. And just to reiterate what my partner said over here, that's been a great marriage. Hooking up with Graham and putting the 2 businesses together is the best move that I know I've made personally. With that comes, some risk. And I in my 50s, I think I've taken a lot more risks than I have before, and they've been paying off. And not just in this business, but some other endeavors I have. The other thing I did was I had to look in the mirror, and I was having some personal issues on my own level that I had to face, and I took some pretty big measures to change my life around a little bit. And in my 50s, I've gotten a lot more spiritual, and Christ has been a bigger part of my life. And those are some really big things. And I think just the maturity to even be able to talk about that and to look yourself in the eye and say, hey, you're not the man I want to be. Right. But I've had a lot of great things happen in the last few years. And cool. So my 50s, it's just every decade has gotten better. Mm-hmm. The only thing that hasn't gotten better is my orthopedic status. But you know what? I hear people say, "Oh, I'm 30. I'm getting so old," and it's like, man, you're as old as you want to let yourself feel.
Right.
Really, I haven't had any challenges until just recently, and they're not anything that's going to keep me down and keep me doing from what I want to do and being active and being who I want to be. I think I've just gotten more bold in my 50s, and I've taken more risks, and they're paying off.
That's cool. And the bottom line is, as old as you get, if you just eat right, if you just exercise, even if it's unsupervised, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and a little walking, you're going to be in better shape than 90% of the people that they see. Graham, if you would, maybe tell us your thoughts for the future, where you are, where you see your business, and if you want to just give a message of hope, speak directly to our gappers who are sitting there going, how in the hell am I going to get from this side of the bridge the gap and get to the other side? What are your thoughts on how to go about that?
Yeah, so addressing your first question, where we're at, where we're going, reiterating what Dale said, it's been an awesome partnership. I think we've enjoyed the most success either of us has business-wise this year, and we plan to continue that growth. I think we're going to we have already added somewhat of like a medical component with the chiropractor and PT, and we plan to expand on that and
nice.
Just continue to be like a full service, a sports medicine almost shop.
Right.
And then as far as bridging the gap and offering the message of hope, I mean, I think you just almost have to have an unwavering belief in yourself and the old saying, chop wood, carry water, get up and do it every day. I mean, we just merged together in January. We were rolling. We were like, oh, this is great. Boom, COVID hit.
Right.
Completely shut down for 2 months. And we just were brainstorming the whole time. Hey, how do we keep people on? How do we not lose memberships? How do we support our community? And I think we did an awesome job of that. And Dale and I came out on the other side as stronger business partners. And I feel, it's not over yet, but I feel like our business has emerged stronger as well.
Mm-hmm. And so Genesis Sports Performance, Genesis meaning a new beginning. And I think all of us gappers need to understand that it's never too late to have a new beginning. I don't know if that's why you picked Genesis or not, but we want to thank you for helping us with Attitude Booster number 9. I love it. Chop wood, get there every day, unwavering belief. And the great thing is every single day that our gappers wake up, you got a choice. You got a choice to begin again. I want you to think about Dale. I want you to think about Graham, what their message is, their message of a new beginning at Genesis Sports Performance. Check out what they're doing online. Check them out on their Facebook page. But, guys, it's time that we commit for all the other people, not just ourselves, to this simple message of eating right and exercising. And I want to thank both of you guys for being in here at the Get Attitude podcast. Check these guys out at Genesis Sports Performance. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you. This is Glenn Bill signing off for the Get Attitude podcast.